It's interesting how things can develop at times, and a whole other subject I was going to talk about today, but events of the day have now led to this discussion instead. I've often talked about, hackers will go after anybody. Shady actors are shady actors, and they're going to do shady things to whomever. I've also said that sometimes it's not about you. They're just throwing out a net and trying to see who all they can bring in. But sometimes it is about you. And what's happening right now, particularly in my industry, security specialists and analysts, the guys that dig into things to try to see where the bad guys are what's vulnerable for compromising. Okay, often we find out about a compromise because these security analysts who think like hackers, we would call them white hat hackers, I suppose, they're looking for the flaws before the bad guys find the flaws. That's kind of how this stuff often gets fixed. Microsoft and other big companies will actually have a bounty, a capture the flag reward, if you will, if you find one of these flaws and bring it to their attention so they can fix it before it gets exploited. Well, what's getting exploited right now is rather crafty deals. Alleged North Korean hackers, or hacking group, it appears to be linking back to them, have been sending out to security analysts and firms saying, hey, they found an issue and they want to collaborate and get more insight, which is something that happens in the community all the time with the security researchers. And they're using normal kind of North American type names, and they're collaborating or starting to collaborate on security flaws that they've found. And of course, when someone says, yeah, let's take a look at that and dig into it together, I'm happy to help you out. The alleged hackers are sending over some files. Well, it turns out those files are backdoored, meaning the bad guys are trying to hack into the good guys to see what the good guys are up to, most likely so the bad guys can figure out how to get around that. All that to say, it's kind of James Bondish, right? It's how this arm race continues going on. So how do we, as business owners, just trying to run our businesses normally, that don't see the world in the ones and zeros of binary code, what's this mean to us? Well, it means these people are really, really crafty, and they're going to stop at nothing to try to find a doorway in. Imagine if they actually ended up compromising one of these security analysts or the security analyst companies and were able to see all the research and development those firms have been doing for good, that they would turn around and hand over to legitimate companies to improve security. Basically, it would have given these alleged North Korean hackers insights or doorways of what they could try to penetrate to get to you and I. That's kind of the whole point of this, which gets really, really scary. And if they're willing to go and be that sophisticated and do that to researchers, people that work in that space all the time, they certainly aren't going to care about you and I when they try to come after our companies to try to monetize what they've learned. So what can we do? Well, we have to take it serious, and we have to take precautions. You got to try to prevent a shady actor from getting in and compromising your company. You need to have detection so that if it does happen, you find out about it. Law enforcement says the bad guys live on compromised networks for up to 200 days. And of course, if something is detected, you got to be able to respond. You got to know what to do about it. The time to run that fire drill is not during the fire. I don't know how many times I've said that in the past, but it's still so true. So when we see this top-level gamesmanship of hackers groups of where they're trying to get their next ideas of how to get to us by going through security analysts, it should be telling us that we need to up our game. You can't be putting your head in the sand going, they're not coming after me. What do they want from me? I hear that all the time. I hear from business owners of, we're too small, or we're too big, or we're from a big city, nobody does that here, or we're from a small... They don't care. They're going after everybody. And they're going after the security analysts so they can figure out how to better come after us. So we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can. Like, we have to look at our own risks. What are the cybersecurity risks facing our companies? What risks are we willing to accept? And if we've got risks that we're not willing to accept, what are we going to do to try to fix those and to gap those bridges? Okay, I recently met with a company that were running free antivirus for home use on some systems. Other systems had some low-end, paid-for traditional antivirus. Some systems had no security on them at all, but they thought they were secure. That is not going to stand up in the face of these kind of threats and attacks. If they can figure out how to get to security analysts, they're going to get through free antivirus like nothing. So heed the warning. Take a look at your operations and go, okay, do we have something in place that can prevent them from trying to come in? Oh, yeah, Scott said not to use that free antivirus stuff. But take a serious look. And if you need help, reach out to your IT people or send me a private message and I can explain that a bit more to you. You got to be able to detect if they get by it. Remember, NASA spent $50 million on cybersecurity and still got breached. It can happen. It does happen. It's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when it does happen, you better have a plan to respond to that. The goal of cybersecurity is, yes, to try to keep the majority of things out, but really the ultimate goal is to make sure that any issues that occur are caught and mitigated and dealt with before it becomes costly, rains havoc, and could be a business-ending event. It happens. Don't let it happen to you.